The next 10 years are going to be very interesting for both men and women. I mean, talk about the pendulum swinging the other way in just 10 years, you know? So, this video, I want to kind of put it out there and I want us to think forward, 10 years from now, 2030, what the possible changes could be in another 10 years. What will we see? Guys, the changes in our societies in the West in the past 10 years alone have been absolutely tremendous. I've lived through it, and so have many of you guys, kind of my age, us guys in our 30s. I mean, even if you're in your mid 20s, I mean, if you were a teenager 10 years ago, you have seen huge changes. Now, of course, you guys know right now we only have OnlyFans, no pun intended, and crazy cat women desperate for the male fantasies, the male billionaire princes that really aren't out there, but they're all holding out for that at the moment, while they're being ramrodded by Chad and Tyrone. I mean, now, guys, look, we're having to resort to all kinds of extreme measures, there's men out there that are having to do things that 10, 15 years ago would have been considered extremely weird, For example, buying full life sex dolls. I mean, I made a video about that about a couple of years ago from 2020. I talked a little bit about that, but that seems to be a huge thing that's happening at the moment. So maybe in another 10 years, that's going to be pretty much common for the single bachelor guy, And the advances in technology in another 10 years, well, I don't know if they're going to be quite walking about yet like human women, but I certainly think they're going to be able to respond to men, both the vocals of men and the touch. And guys, when I talk about decline, you just have to look around you, And when the female police, cops, where you live, start looking like criminals, it's pretty much over. Something ain't right. Guys, in my videos, I'm all about speaking the truth, That's what I'm all about. But these are dangerous times, and as one famous man said, I'm paraphrasing, to speak the truth in dangerous times is kind of revolutionary. I'm certainly not that, I'm a moderate guy, and I didn't even want to start talking about these subjects, guys, but it's come to that. And I believe that's why a lot of red pill channels, are starting to explode because, these guys are quite mild-mannered guys like myself, but I think we've gone past the breaking point in our societies, where things just are very, very extreme, So men like myself are having to speak up and out about it. Guys, we've got a lot of crazies out there, and a few of them come to my channel. They're in the comment section. They've sent me messages, but because I'm a tough guy, old school guy, shall we say, that kind of washes over me. It's nothing to me. So those guys are wasting their time, to be honest. But guys, I'm not about preaching what they would call hatred at all. I'm just speaking the truth, like I've said before. This whole channel, is mainly about traveling for men, and that's what the core of the channel's about. But I will talk about topics that do relate to men, and how to better men. And that's what I'm talking about, And then if you better the man, then you better the woman in turn. That's what I'm talking about, guys. Guys, what I do hate, I have to be careful on YouTube now. I certainly don't want to relegate myself to BitChute, but ultimately we're probably all going to have to be there in a few years' time, maybe 10 years' time. My channel won't be on YouTube. So that's one thing to look out for. You might be listening to this and thinking, oh, Tube Man, what's YouTube? Either YouTube isn't going to exist in 10 years, or channels like this are not going to exist on YouTube in 10 years. And that would be a crying shame, because, my channel has existed on YouTube for, well, I started in 2006, so currently that's about 14 years. So I've been around the block on YouTube. I know it quite well. Now, guys, some of you guys might think I'm, I talk a lot of SHIT about MGTOW sometimes, but I'm not a, you know what it is, guys. I made a video a few months ago now about Bulldog Mindset, John Sommes, I believe his name is. And, he was talking about Mgtow and how it could kind of become a cult. And I think that's true with anything, I don't really believe it's like that. But, there's some in the group that, there's always extremists, in every group. But what I'm getting to, guys, is, what I'm getting at, guys, is I don't believe in dogma or doctrines, I believe in free thought and the truth, as I've said before, earlier in the video, I believe in the truth and revealing the truth, and going on your own particular journey and, discovering that truth, as men. That's what it's all about. But I don't like bashing women. The only reason I bash women right now is because they're extremely damaged at the moment in the West. That's the only reason I do it. I've got the utmost respect for women, and as I've said before in previous videos, I was brought up by traditional strong women, old school women. And to see that die in our societies, that hurts. Guys, for thousands of years, we had to cooperate with women, and it was a team, a team effort for survival, and bringing up our children and our communities, and we're men in this generation, we're just seeing this washed away in the West, which, I mean, guys, in 10 years' time, we're going to be looking back at this, because I believe this is a pivotal moment in history, not just 10 years, but 20, 30 years, people are going to be looking back at this, this was the moment when things changed. And back, years ago, I mean, it wasn't even that long ago. I talk about pre-60s, that seems to be another major turning point. But pre-60s, women were still tough, and I like tough women, I like strong people. I don't like weak people, whether they're men or women. And back then, women took no nonsense, and I respect that.
Another shocking statistic, since 1985, a man's handshake used to register a male man in his mid-20s used to be 118 pounds of pressure. 118 pounds of pressure. Last year, 98 pounds of pressure. Exactly equivalent to a woman's handshake. When I tell you it's over for us, there's no coming back. The human race is fucking through. I like the sperm one better. Of course, now the girls, they think and they shake hands. I mean, give me a break, That's, to me, when a woman goes, that's insulting to me.
Guys, both men and women have fallen, We can see the state of the weakness in men as well, I'm just not going to keep bashing women because men have also fallen. And we can see that with the whole soy boy thing, the simps, the male feminists, just in general, pathetic weaklings that seem to now be the kind of norm. It's pretty disgusting, right? And for us old school guys, we're looking at this and it's just absolute disbelief. So let's project that into another 10 years, Let's have a look at where things are heading, There's trends, right? So if we're on a trajectory, another 10 years, you can think of the absolute weakness in 10 years from now. Guys, I've heard stories. I shouldn't laugh, but I've heard stories where you have to laugh because it's so extreme and disgusting. I've heard stories of, men have been questioned, would you defend your mother or your wife if another man walked up to your wife or your mother and spat in her face? And a lot of men now would say no. Think about that, guys. That's the state we're in. Guys, let's think about it, Another 10 years, we can imagine what's going to be going on, let's think about it. 10 years ago, could we have predicted what's happening now? Men can't even get any decent women in the West anymore. And like I've said in my previous videos, the young guys coming up now, unless you're a superstar, with great athletic ability or some kind of, young man that all the girls want, it's a big, big problem, And I know that not just from watching YouTube videos, I've been out there in the working world, I've worked in education, I've spoken to, interacted, with teens, so I know what's going on. And it's pretty grim, guys, at the moment. So you can imagine, let's project this into the future, another 10 years. It might be a horror story. But guys, I digress here. We've got to look at the situation now. I think that's the best way to kind of extrapolate, I'll use a big word there, to look into the future, 10 years from now. What's going on now? Well, in my personal opinion, things are disintegrating. I don't like to see it. What man would like to see the society disintegrate, And this is what's fueling the huge, and I'm so relieved about this, This is what's fueling the huge explosion in, the manosphere, red pill channels, even the MGTOW stuff, which is going so, becoming so explosive, people are starting to have to clamp down on that censorship, which I don't like. But, that's starting to happen. So, guys, if there is anything I do hate at the moment, it's the decadence. That's all I can really describe this. A slow slide, into decadence. It's like we're sliding into quicksand, very, very slowly. Now, I'm not a religious man, really, per se, I do think religion has a lot of value, and there's a lot of good stories there, allegories, stuff like that. And, there's one about not wanting to build your house on sand. You know, I think that's a famous one, I believe, from the Bible. You know, and I think there's a lot of merit to that. You know, there's a lot of truth in that. But I mean, as I've said, you know, building your house in this kind of society, which I don't even think is sand, it's more like quicksand at the moment. You know, guys, when I do talk about the decline, I'm not just talking about the decline in men, you know. I'm talking about the societies we're in the West, you know, that has declined. But, you know, it's not only men, it's also the decline in women. And like I've said before, you know, that's really sad to see because it hurts everyone, you know. If men decline, it hurts everyone. If women decline, it hurts everyone, you know. Women have turned into nasty little monsters in the West. There's only way I can describe it. Of course, not every woman. Women that have, you know, had a more of a traditional upbringing, they kind of resist that. They have the ability to resist that, you know. Thankfully, in my own family, that's the case. And also, I've seen out there, it's very rare now, but you know, there's women that can see what's going on in their culture and stuff, and they don't like it. So the whole all women are like that kind of thing. But this is what gets me with you know, women bashing and in MGTOW sometimes is you group women all together in one group, and that's not good. You know, there is a huge decline. Yes, we know that, but it's not all women, right? Okay, guys. So I hope you enjoyed that video. It's a little bit longer than my usual ones, but I hope that gave you some food for thought. You know. And yeah, guys, this is going to be part one. And what I plan to do with this is leave this up on YouTube or wherever the hell channels like ours are going to end up, men's channels. And we'll see. In 10 years, I'm going to make a part two. So, guys, also in the comments below, I want you guys to kind of predict. Let's have a little talk about what the possibilities could be 10 years from now. What are we going to see? You know, keep it serious, guys. Don't go too outlandish, but we'll have a discussion about that. So, guys, this is TubeMan777 signing off, and I will be seeing you guys in 10 years when I make part two. Signing out.